Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic, host of Bachelor Nation News. You just watched the Bachelor recap of all Bachelor recaps, and now we're going to get into the parasocial relationship we have with these contestants, including Gabby fighting back and deleting haters' comments on our Instagram, which we are all for. And she got called out for doing that, and she smacked back. It's her only public, or I should say, I guess it counts as a public statement so far. So we're going to get into it. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals for all that good, juicy content, plus stand-up comedy clips, tour dates, and all that jazz. Patreon.com/Dave Neal. I'll be live at 10:30 a.m. this morning to further talk on our private live stream. It's as little as $5 a month. You can join that. Plus, I'll have full stand-up comedy clips. So much you can see over there. All my wedding videos and all the behind-the-scenes stuff is all over there. And every afternoon, Bachelor Rush Hour, the podcast. Why am I waving my finger? Including today, I'm going to give you guys a deeper dive look at what might be going on in this season as we prepare for what could be the most wild ending to a season we've seen in a while. Now, here's what happened. We have sprinkling_sunshine is Gabby's Instagram. And if you're not caught up, you got to go watch the recap. But essentially, Zach does a no sex rule with Ariel. But then when he comes to Gabby, he says no sex, and then they end up having a special evening, which is fine with two consensual adults or multiple consensual adults. I don't care how many adults are in there as long as it's all consensual. And then the third date with Katie, we don't know how that ends, but I'm going to share the clip from last night, and we're going to analyze if Katie's words were sort of superimposed, manipulated, or if she called out Gabby at the end. So we're going to get into that. But here we have Gabby's response because she's getting some random hate. We're going to share some of it and just kind of debunk it as it lays there. JD said this: I don't understand why everyone is blaming Gabby and not Zach. It was a consensual decision that they made together. They're both grown, capable of making their own decisions, so I don't understand why everyone is acting like Zach is this helpless guy that was seduced and manipulated when he clearly wasn't. Stop painting him as a victim when it's something they both wanted. Yeah, Zach wasn't tied down as far as we know. We don't know what they're into, and he wasn't forced to partake in the sex. It was a mutual decision they made. So here we have this commenter saying she deleting comments, which, by the way, isn't the worst thing to call someone out for deleting comments, but it's certainly not productive, especially on someone's page. I treat my Instagram like my living room. So if someone posts that in my living room, it's like, get the hell out of here. So here's what Gabby's response is. To deleting comments. She said, yes, I am, because I don't need negativity and hate on my page. It's so unnecessary and unkind. There is no reason to put others down. Get off my page if you don't like me. And then the response was, I like you, queen, just here for the drama. And it's like, well, you could have phrased that better. You came into Gabby's space. And that's something we need to learn, right? And we've talked about this. I've been discussing this on Bachelor Rush Hour, the podcast, about the influencer who named Brianna Media. She's Googled and researched and had a private detective find the names of 200 of her trolls to call them all out. And I'm not saying that here to say that Lay Layden is a troll, not whatsoever. But in the ticky-tacky world of social media, you go, look, you said this on Gabby's page. You called her out for doing something any of us would do. In fact, if I were Gabby, I'd say, look, Gabby, who's your best friend? Get your best friend, give her your cell phone password, and let them delete the comments. Take the day off, Gabby. You know, we know that other contestants have done this. And we've talked about this in the past. Recent villains who've said, look, hey, so-and-so's not here. Let's use Eric as an example. It wasn't him. Eric's not here. This is his buddy running his DMs. We appreciate the support, but I'm running it just so he doesn't have to, partake in this nonsense. Because that's what it is. It's overwhelming. We're only supposed to know X amount of people. We're only supposed to have so many social interactions. And when something like this hits the mainstream water cooler discussion, it's no longer a water cooler discussion. 5 people by the water cooler at the office. That's what a water cooler I feel like that's an old term people don't know anymore, water cooler discussions. You're hanging out of the water cooler, killing time because you hate your job. And now we take that to social media, and it's overwhelming. And so Gabby, she ain't dealing with it. Someone had commented, this is BS. Zach was somehow able to maintain his boundaries with Ariel, so he does have will, power, and autonomy. He just chose not to use it with Gabby, and that's on him. Maybe it was easier for him to abstain from Ariel because he didn't have an emotional connection with her, and it's obvious he has one with Gabby. But the internet blaming Gabby, ugh, I'm with you. It's stupid, but not surprising. Yeah, and we'll get into it in a second, some of the psychology that exists there with the internet blaming Gabby. And what's funny, of course, this is a sidebar, but this is funny what Andrew S. said. He said, Zach a better man than me. And Justin said, listen. And of course, I believe that was that Zach had maintained that he wasn't going to hook up with anyone and passed on Ariel. And but then, of course, that didn't get as far with Gabby. So here we have Katie telling Gabby that she knows about her fantasy suite with Zach. Let's listen to this and see if this is edited or if this is exactly what was said. So we'll get to this part. So here we have Zach doing his thing.
I thought it would be in a much different state of mind. I thought I'd be a lot happier. And right now I feel like...
Like I said, I thought I would be a lot happier. Yeah, I mean, you feel exposed. We all feel this way after sex. It's a vulnerable time. And in most relationships that prosper after sex, it leads to the conversation of being defining the relationship and being together and setting boundaries. But in this case, after sex, he then tells other people on TV.
Like, I am, like I said, wearing a big A on my chest.
Like, I said, I'm wearing a big A on my chest.
I know.
So she says, I know you were the only one. Now, we don't even see, I don't know if she's a ventriloquist. I don't understand what they teach up in Canada in the school system. Maybe ventriloquy is what they teach, but she goes, I knew you were the only one. Her lips don't even move there, so we don't know if that's real or what's going on. Bachelor Nation.scoop, as always, did a fantastic job compiling all of this different content here and says, where does this rank in the most awkward fantasy suite weeks? And it's a great question, one of which people are asking. Bachelor Bitch said, no matter what Zach does tonight, this was last night, he can rest easy that it will never be as messy as Clayton's fantasy suite week. And I posed the question, is this as messy as Clayton's? It was self-imposed, as the Bachelor says. He really caused all of his own problems this episode. So he creates a scenario in which I'm not going to have sex with anyone. Then he violates that, but then he goes public. It's almost as if Zach's intention to right the ship has just made it worse and worse. What do you guys think? Was this worse than Clayton? And they're obviously different situations, but this one might not have had as much of a dramatic response as Rachel Recchia's was, but we haven't gotten to the end of it yet. There is still obvious, like the way Gabby's processing this is going, this didn't feel good. And the more Gabby's going to unearth, the more we might realize that she can't get over this. We'll have to see. I have no idea how this all plays out. So anyway, yeah, we had that comment. And then Joe's comment regarding the no sex was, what Zach did with sex, I do every weekend with alcohol. Not drinking this weekend. Friday, I hold on. Saturday, I can't handle it anymore. Give me a drink. Sunday, well, I drank yesterday and posted it all over my Instagram story. So F it. Let's go, baby. And by the way, Joe, you might have a problem. But this is my issue with sugar. No pizza for me this weekend. I consider pizza to be sugar because that's all it is, right? When it hits the salivary glands, it all breaks down to sugar anyway. Oh, if you eat bread and really savor it, you're just eating sugar. You're just gonna melt that baby down into the sweet, sweet carbs. Anyway, that's how that we've all got our own addictions, whether it be sex, drugs, or pizza. Vanessa said Zach can't keep secrets, yet we don't know what happened in the fantasy suite with Rachel. Yeah, Rachel Recchia. I mean, blink twice. If you could just give us an honest glimpse, I would love. I mean, and I'm all for privacy here, but I would love for somebody to spill the tea so we could triangulate what the heck's going on out there. Kelsey said, the face you make when you have to discuss your sex life on national TV because your boyfriend can't keep his mouth shut. Yeah, and that's what's interesting when we watch the show is we get to see their emotions change in real time. We get to see this moment the day after or 2 days after, whatever it was, the day after Zach and Gabby consummate their relationship, as it were. Zach's on his way to Katie. He's literally got flowers for Katie. He's on his way, and he stops over to see Gabby, and Gabby's like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. This is amazing." And then he talks about the fact that he mentions that, like, I got to tell other people what we did. And the question now is, did he hook up with Katie? And if he did, and decided to keep that relationship a secret, that sexual relationship in the fantasy suite's a secret, then you wonder, like, oh my gosh, Gabby's getting the shaft and not the good kind. So Wells says, the advice I would have given Zach at the bar, do not kiss and tell, especially when millions of people are watching. And Blake's response, come on now, you didn't have this energy in paradise, which I believe to be friendly, which is also interesting because we don't even, Blake said he wasn't following the season, but hey, Blake, come on, we're going to reel you back in. No shame in the game. So we covered that already. And then, of course, here are some of the comments people have been leaving about Gabby. It's Gabby's lack of respect for Zach's wishes not to have sex for me. And this is where, people forget that Zach, and this is what happens a lot, and it's sort of like a microaggression as far as slut-shaming goes. This idea that Gabby's the seductress and Zach, and now don't get me wrong, there's a lot of chemicals and blood flow and energy that happens in the night, but you still make that decision yourself. Zach still makes that decision himself, consensually, to have sex. So there is no holding one. Now look, if Zach was a married man and Gabby knew he was married, and Gabby still was like, come on, bad boy, Zach's still the cheater, but Gabby's also a homewrecker. That's not the case here. So that's not what the case is. Another one tweeted, not really feeling Gabby, to be honest, like respect his choice to not have sex. She's being weird. We don't know what happened. Zach set a clear boundary with Gabby, and she manipulated him out of it. She looks so proud of herself, too. She is shady, says Katie. And others say Zach decided to discuss Gabby's sex life without her consent on national TV. That's a good way to put it. Zach said, I have to share my truth, but your truth is attached to someone else's. And others had compared this to the Nick Viall situation, where Nick said to his former lover, if you weren't going to, and he said this live on the After the Final Rose or whatever, if you weren't going to choose me, then why did you have sex with me? And in essence, outing their sexual relationship, which, look, this isn't like a doctor outing your medical. I mean, there's nothing illegal about outing someone else's sexual thing if you're involved in it. It's only slanderous and defamatory if it's a lie. If you say, I had sex with so-and-so and you didn't, and it defames them and they lose business because of it for whatever reason, that would be, defamatory. If it's a lie, if it's true, it's true. You're allowed to speak your truth for the most part. Not a lawyer. Don't hold me to that. But it doesn't mean it doesn't look bad. So there they are. And let's see if there's any other comments there. So we'll end on this because, I love to read Sage journals. When I'm ever bored, I go to Sage journals and I like to read. This one's called He is a Stud, She is a Slut. A meta-analysis on the continued existence of sexual double standards. And women and men are often held to a different standard of appropriate behavior. We know this. Let's just read up on it. For example, women are penalized more than men for self-promoting behavior and for speaking in a direct and dominant manner. In addition, compared with women, men are penalized for passiveness and modest behavior. Such backlash effect, whereby men and women receive sanctions for violating social standards for their behavior, can have far-ranging negative consequences for individuals and society. Is Gabby on the short end of the receiving being penalized for violating social standards? The present analysis focuses on heterosexual double standards in which different sexual behaviors are expected of and valued for men and women. Traditionally, men and boys are expected to be sexually active, dominant, and the initiator of heterosexual activity, whereas women and girls are expected to be sexually reactive, submissive, and passive. Moreover, traditionally, men are granted more sexual freedom than women. As a consequence, men and women can be treated differently for the same sexual behaviors. For example, slut-shaming is experienced by 50% of girls compared to only 20% of boys. And we see that happening in this case where Gabby's the one who violated Zach here as if he has no autonomy. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your comments. More content coming your way. We're going to be hot, and it's going to be 100% original content. That's right, 100% original content this afternoon. Bachelor Rush Hour, the podcast. Link in the comment section to download, stream, or listen or watch on your computer. All right, folks, we'll be back right after this.